When the market's crashing, it's pretty easy to feel like maybe you're the only one who has ever felt this anxious. But the truth is that some of the great investors in history have lived through this kind of chaos before, and they left behind some wisdom that still applies today. So, what we're going to do in today's episode is talk to Ryan Fleming, the pilot's advisor, about some of the great quotes from voices like Warren Buffett, Benjamin Graham, Jack Bogle, and others to remind us how to think, act, and stay grounded, hopefully, even when times feel very uncertain. I'll grab Ryan and we'll get started. Ryan, great to be with you again here on the Pilot's Advisor. Looking forward to covering kind of a fun episode today as we talk about crashes in the market, downturns, but learn from some of the greats how to react, how to stay calm maybe during these times, and a little bit of what to do. So this should be pretty fun. How's life treating you, my friend, and outside of the markets and the financial world?
Life's pretty good. I have young kids, so I'm constantly between soccer games and track meets and you name it. So just busy time of year. Of course, the topic today, I think, is an amazing topic because investing is all about keeping your cool and being unemotional. And, I like to tell my clients stuff like, on average, the market's up 3 out of every 4 years. So, and to be honest with you, most years there's a 10% correction that happens, but we fail to realize it when it happens, and we forget the pain that we felt when it, if it was a couple of years ago and when the market's down. So I think it's a great topic and I'm excited for it.
Excellent. Well, here's what we're going to do. Whether we are at the time of this episode, markets are down. It may still be down by the time you're watching it. We may have come back up out of it. So the whole point here, though, is that this is going to be some pretty timeless advice. So if the current crash or the current downturn has fixed itself, well, take and absorb all of this information and put it in your brain and use it for the next time there's a downturn in the market. So I think that'll still be applicable here. All right, well, let's start with the greatest of them all, Warren Buffett. And it's a pretty popular quote, so it's an easy one to start with here. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. The wisdom here seems pretty sound, but it's still hard advice to follow, isn't it?
Well, for sure. It's very hard advice to follow because, when there's blood in the streets, it's hard to not react. And we all know to buy low and sell high, but we just don't do it. Us as human beings, and I love behavioral finance because that behavior, the human behavior, is normally what hurts us. That natural reaction, fight or flight, is what hurts us. So like I was saying, we all know to buy low and sell high, but that emotion inside of us causes us to do the exact wrong thing with the market. So it's really tough to battle. And I think it's important for those listeners that may not know who Warren Buffett is or may not know who some of these investors are, he's probably known as one of the best investors of all time. And I think some of his other quotes that I think of is, basically you want to be doing the exact opposite of what everybody's thinking, the herding effect.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. What do they call Warren? The Oracle of Omaha? Is that sort of the moniker?
Well, he still lives in like a 1,300 square foot house, and he's like I don't know, what does he have, like $48 billion, and he's never moved out of his house?
Yep. And I think still drives his old truck around, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he's frugal in some ways, in addition to the greatness in the investing side. Well, that's great advice. Interesting. You talk about liking kind of the behavioral finance side of things. I think you'll really like the next quote here. The author of a book called The Intelligent Investor, Benjamin Graham, once said that the investor's chief problem and even his worst enemy is likely to be himself. How does that one speak to you?
It speaks to me because I immediately think about pilots. Pilots will not get out of their own way. Or,
okay.
You've heard me say it before too, like, I'm going to cut off my nose to spite my face.
Right.
There you go. And, whether it's emotions in the market or fees or whatever it might be, sometimes you got to get out of the way and let the market do its thing. And I kind of relate it to flying too. I mean, sometimes you just need to take your hands off the controls and let the plane do what it was designed to do, and that's fly, versus if you're overcorrecting and just trying to fly too much of the airplane, just back off and let it be a little bit. So 100%. I mean, if you look at Dalbar, Dalbar is a firm out of Boston, and all they do is study investor behavior. And many of my clients and prospects have probably heard me talk about this. But the average investor is getting well below market returns. I mean, it's around 4%, which is sickening. I mean, that's barely beating inflation. And so if the average investor is getting 4%, the question becomes, what are they doing to screw this up? And if you start digging into the data, it's all the worst enemy. You're stock picking, market timing, track record investing, and just not being a long-term, unemotional, disciplined investor.
Well, talking about long-term and discipline, it dovetails very nicely into the next piece of advice from the founder of Vanguard, Jack Bogle. He said, "Stay the course. No matter what happens, stick to your program." I've said stay the course 1,000 times, and I meant it every time. It is the most important single piece of investment wisdom I can give you.
Jack Bogle, when I hear that name, Vanguard, love it. Love that company, low-cost ETFs, index funds. I think that what's crazy about this, though, is I think the investment environment has changed. And I'm going out on a limb here, but this is what I truly feel. I feel like for the longest time, that passive portfolio, low cost ETF, keeping your expense ratios very low, set it, forget it, and just let it do its thing with modern portfolio theory. I think it might be a thing of the past. I mean, I really do, because with technology, with AI now, there's so much automated trading in the market. Even if you look at it, as soon as there's uncertainty, all of a sudden there's a massive sell-off, and a lot of that is because of automated trading. And so the up and down of, it's wild and crazy. And I think for the first time since I've been in this business, I really think active trading is having a little bit more of a piece. And you can see it with some of the long-term returns of what we do. And once again, the narrative of doing something versus nothing probably helps the investor as well, versus having that passive portfolio when the market's in turmoil and you're just riding it all the way down. So, it's tough, because I see Vanguard and I think it's been such a pivotal piece of the investment world. But I think things might be changing.
It's one of the kind of a bit of a new normal sort of feeling to it with the way that the markets behave now.
Yeah. I mean, the massive volatility, the spiking up, spiking down. I mean, it's definitely much harder to trade for sure. But at the same time, that volatility also creates a lot of opportunity. And if you can figure out how to unemotionally take advantage of that, or you have a system to take advantage of that, you can really get some fabulous returns.
Attention aviators, when you've spent years in the cockpit managing the complexities of flight, isn't it time you navigated your retirement with the same precision? Introducing RetirePilots.com. Right at your touchdown zone on our homepage, there's a beacon flashing, "Get my free toolkit." Click that and you'll be cleared for a direct route to Ryan's Retirement Toolkit, tailor-made for pilots like you. Inside, you'll find two of his important works, The Pilot's Advisor and Pilots Retire Early. Between these two books, you can decipher the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65 and discover the 7 lessons to help pilots land safely in retirement. But that's not all. This toolkit is packed with altitude-high value, including extras to get your retirement plans off the runway and light the afterburners on your 401k. Vector on over to retirepilots.com to grab your toolkit, and let's embark on this journey together. Excellent. Well, we've got a really good next one here, Ryan, from John Templeton. The 4 most dangerous words in investing are, "This time, it's different."
I think we were just talking about that on a podcast, and I was mentioning that, it doesn't matter, 2000 was different from 05 or 08 or, 2019, 2022. It's always a different narrative. And you see all the pundits, well, this time it's different. I don't care what the circumstances are. We're going to come out of it. The sun will eventually come up. I constantly say, I don't know if the next 20% is up or down. I have no clue, but I know the next 100% is up, because it always is. And if you can stay true to that and be unemotional and not look at the 2-week outlook, the 90-day outlook, or even the 6-month outlook, and look at markets. I mean, it is the greatest wealth creation tool known to mankind, if you'll just get out of the way and let it do its thing.
Good lessons there for sure. All right, we got 2 more to go, Ryan. This next one's from Peter Lynch. Far more money has been lost by investors preparing for corrections or trying to anticipate corrections than has been lost in the corrections themselves.
I 100% agree. I feel like you should read it again because I don't know what else to say about that is except, don't try to time the market. Like you trying to, miss 5% of the downside ultimately probably causes you to miss 15% of the upside, and it's a loser's game.
Yep. We saw this, during the prior downturn where there was that one day where the NASDAQ spiked 10% plus. And if you'd been trying to get out of the way at that time, you would have missed that run up and you would have fallen victim to exactly what Peter Lynch is talking about here. So fits right in with that stay the course mentality, of course. One more behavioral finance one for you. This one's from Morgan Housel, who is the author of Psychology of Money. Really good book, by the way. If you ever want to check it out, folks, definitely a good one to recommend. Risk is what's left over when you think you've thought of everything. It's a pretty interesting one.
No, it's very interesting. I don't even know how to respond to that. What do you think about that one, Walter?
Well, when I hear that one, risk is what's left over when you think you've thought of everything, it just means that it's always present. Like you can never ignore it. You can never get rid of it. You can never solve for it. Risk will always be a part of anything you do in life. And it's true for investing. At least that's what it speaks to me as.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of it too when there's a big market downturn, or you hear me say all the time, pilots want all of the upside and none of the downside. And it's so interesting to me how you find out what somebody's true risk tolerance is when you have a market downturn. Let's say a portfolio has a 10% return, but the S&P is up at 15%. A pilot's going to instantly go, well, why am I not getting 15%? What, this portfolio sucks, and then no different when the market's down, why is my account down? Like if there's some magic pill when the market's down 15 or 20% that you'd miraculously have like positive return somehow. And so you really get to see what someone's true risk tolerance is in bad markets. And that's why we actually reach out. Not everybody chooses to fill it out, but we constantly send out a risk tolerance questionnaire. And I think we do it every 6 months just to test the waters and say, hey, where are you at? Here's how your money's invested. Do you want to make any changes?
I want to see you send that out during a crash and see what how different the responses are. But it brings up a great point because it's one thing to say, oh, I'm comfortable with a 20% downturn. And then when one happens, you're going,
exactly. And living through it and the pain that you feel right now while it's happening. And you feel like, quote unquote, I just lost, 20% of my money. But all the data supports it. I mean, if you go back and look at any of these crashes or pullbacks, if you stayed the course and you didn't panic, you're going to win.
Yeah. Well, there's the lesson for today. Stay the course. We'll go back to that quote from Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard. Even if times are changing a little bit, that advice certainly has not gone away quite yet. To stick with your strategy, don't make knee-jerk reactions. All the greats agree that that's the way to get through these things when they happen. If you don't have a plan in place for the next market downturn, well, time to get acting. It's never too late to get started and start making the right decisions. But if you wait until the next crash happens, well, then it is too late. So jump on it while you're thinking about it right now. Meet with Ryan and have a conversation about your financial plan. Get guidance on how to better prepare for your financial future. Where does it all begin? By going to retirepilots.com. Retirepilots.com. We've got it linked in the description of today's show. Go and order the retirement toolkit that Ryan has created for you, for pilots specifically. You can get that for free. That's the starting point for everybody. So go check out the toolkit today. Retirepilots.com, your place to pick that up. It's linked in the description of the episode, and it's that easy. Ryan, thanks for the help today. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it as always, Walter. And for our pilot types out there, I just want to leave you with this. If you're flying an airplane and you hit some turbulence, you got to stay the course. You don't just go grab the parachute and jump out the window, right? So you get a little turbulence, ride it out. Things will be okay. Take a deep breath.
That might be fun for the pilot and not so much fun for everybody else on the plane.
Yeah, that's why we fly boxes around at FedEx. I don't have to worry about that.
There you go.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks, as always.
See you, Ryan. Thank you.
information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.